All right, this is the spot, right? Wait, come on. Maybe next year. Yep, the Angels missed playoffs once again, which has us as the leader for longest playoff drought in all of baseball. Why? Damn it, why? Before I start yapping about the 2025 playoffs and my predictions, leave a comment down below. Let me know who you think is going to make it to the World Series and win it all. 2025 MLB Playoff Predictions. We're going to start in the wild card round, of course, with the Tigers and the Guardians. The Tigers, they opened this season looking very scary, looking like they were going to ride off last year's playoff magic into this season. But as the season went on, Cleveland started to catch them. They were once 15 games back, and then they ended up winning the division. Tigers kind of blew it, but here they are facing each other. They barely hung on, the Tigers did. And I think the momentum that the Guardians built up and the near collapse of the Tigers is going to be all the story we need for this matchup. Give me Cleveland beating them 2-1. I only think the Tigers get that one because of Tariq Skubal. I think he'll get one game for them. Who else is excited that we get one of the best rivalries in baseball in the first round of playoffs? Red Sox and Yankees. The Yankees had a good hot last month, especially Aaron Judge, and he's got some bats that really complimented him this season. Even though they lost Juan Soto, they had guys like Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, and Trent Grisham having a breakout power season all step up to support him in this lineup. And with the 1-2 punch they are going to be throwing in the wild card round of Max Fried and Rodon, who is actually making that contract look worth it now, I think the Yankees are going to be tough to beat in a short series. The Red Sox, I did have as a team that would come out of nowhere, surprise people. I actually had them going to the World Series in my preseason prediction video, but I don't think that'll be the case here. I think they are going to have to battle in game one, even with Crochet on the mound, who is their best starter, and they're going to go up against Fried, and it's just going to be a tough pitching matchup. I think the bats end up winning it for the Yankees in this short one, so give me the Yanks winning 2-1. Dodgers Reds. The Reds barely snuck into the playoffs, taking the spot of the Mets on the last day of the season, and they're going up against the Dodgers. This is high and above one of the best teams in playoffs. We all know it. We all know why. I don't need to explain to you why. They have the Avengers on their damn roster, so let's get it over with right away. I think Dodgers sweep here, 2-0. Padres and Cubs. I think this will easily be the most entertaining matchup in the entire wild card round. I think it'll come down to the team's bats, and I like the lineup that San Diego has put together more than the Cubs. The Cubs are really starting to come together with all these new faces and build the chemistry. I think the Padres have had this chemistry. They have been through the battle of playoffs for the past few seasons together, and I think that is going to be the reason they beat the Cubs in this one 2-1. Now the divisional round, best of 5. Mariners and Guardians. The Mariners have been on a magical run all of 2025, especially Cal Raleigh. The season he put together, absolutely amazing. Their starting pitchers took a huge jump. Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, those guys stepped up big, and I think they are going to be a big presence on the playoff roster. So for these two teams, I really do think it comes down to who has the better offense, and I believe that is the Mariners. Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Eugenio Suarez. I don't think Cleveland has the power in their lineup to go head-to-head with them, so give me the Mariners winning this one 3-1. Yankees and Blue Jays. I think on each side of playoffs, there's going to be one team in the National League and the American League that suffers from the bye, being the 1 and 2 seed, waiting that extra time to get going and play some playoff baseball. I think it's going to be the Blue Jays in the American League. Yankees ended their season hot. They were playing good games, their bats were hitting, and they're going to go straight into playoffs with that momentum, with that offensive mindset. And the Blue Jays, well, they had a pretty good end of their season too. I believe that bye, those waiting, those days are going to be what kills them. And the pitching, I also think, stacks up for the Yankees. I think the guys that are going to be rolling out there in playoffs are going to outweigh what the Blue Jays are going to go. I mean, Kevin Gausman, he can be a dog for sure, but I see him being more hittable than Max Fried. And then you go to Carlos Rodon Max Scherzer. You really don't know how Max Scherzer will perform at this late in his career. So I think it'll come down to the Yankees bats outperforming the Blue Jays, just staying hot. The Blue Jays not seeing live pitching, not going through games to get to this position. So yeah, that's what I'm going with here. I think the Yankees will win 3-2. Phillies and Dodgers. These are easily the two best teams on the National League side of playoffs, and they both have great offenses. I think we all know that. We have MVP caliber players on both teams in the lineups, aces in their starting rotation. It sucks that the Phillies lost Zach Wheeler, but luckily they had Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez have huge breakout seasons, pitch like aces, and I think that is going to be huge for them in playoffs. So for me, with both teams having good lineups, good starting pitching, I think it comes down to the bullpen. That's going to be the factor that really matters in this matchup and going the rest of the way. For the Dodgers, they had bullpen worries a lot of the season. A lot of young guys in that bullpen who haven't had that experience and got roughed up a little bit, and even a few veterans who would blow leads for the Dodgers, lose them games, and you cannot have that happen in playoffs. I think the Phillies don't have that problem as much as the Dodgers do. I think they got more of a shutdown guy at the end, and the Dodgers, they did play around with throwing some of their starters in the bullpen at the end of the season, but we'll see how that goes into playoffs, facing the best of the best. I think this is going to be a great matchup. I really think it could go either way, but I think with the Phillies being more all around, in my opinion, throughout their lineup, throughout their starting rotation, and the key factor, like I said, for both of these teams, the bullpen, I think I'm giving it to Philadelphia, so give me the Phillies winning this one in 5, 3-2. Brewers and Padres. Remember how I said I thought there'd be one team on each side who suffers from the bye-round blues? I think it's the Brewers in this scenario. This is also a very young team. They don't have a lot of playoff experience compared to the other teams that are in playoffs, and I think that's also going to affect them. We've seen it happen before. Remember when the Orioles were one of the best teams in baseball a couple years ago, and then they immediately disappeared in playoffs. I think that's going to be the case for the Brewers here. I also don't think their way of baseball would carry them far in playoffs anyway. They do a lot of small ball. They find creative ways to score runs. I just don't think that's going to carry you all the way. I think it's even going to be tough to get through series playing baseball that way. I think the Padres have the experience. They've had the chemistry. They've had postseason sadness. They've had postseason excitement over these last couple of years, and they've consistently been back in playoffs. They know the atmosphere. So in this round, I'm giving it to the Padres 3-1. Yankees and Mariners. At some point, the Yankees always seem to run into postseason bad luck, if that's what we're going to call it here. This is where I believe it is going to happen for the Yankees. I believe Seattle is the most well-rounded team in all of playoffs. The lineup, the starting rotation, the bullpen, I think they got guys everywhere on this team that can get the job done. And they got a guy that they can rely on, a guy they can trust on with the bats, with the arms, with the end of game arms. I think they are going to be set for a good run throughout these playoffs. And I think this will come down to the bats at the end of the day. And I like the Mariners bats this season more than I like the Yankees bats. The Yankees are very streaky, and I don't see that happening for the Mariners. I think the Mariners know what they can do, and I believe they will stay strong, especially in the first round. Cal Raleigh had such an unbelievable year, and he's definitely got a lot of bats, like Aaron Judge, surrounding him that can provide the spark as well. I just see a collapse coming for the Yankees at some point. I see the bats going cold at some point, and I think it's this round against the Mariners and their starting pitching. I think they are going to run into a wall here with the Mariners starting pitching. So give me the Mariners winning this one 4-3 in the championship round. Phillies and Padres. We've seen this matchup before. Recently, in 2022, it went the way of the Phillies, and I think it is going to go the way of the Phillies again. I just see them as a better team, 1 through 9 in their lineup, with the starters they're going to be throwing out there, with the bullpen they have at the end of the game. Although I will admit, San Diego also has a better bullpen than the last time we saw this matchup. Adding Mason Miller to that bullpen has been huge, and I just think it's going to be whose bats are going to be better at the end of the day. And I think there's a belief of how you perform in playoffs, and I think we have seen on both of these teams who lives up to that. We've seen these teams in playoffs through the past couple of years, and I think the Phillies bats are the ones that stay high and the ones that find a way, the ones that have that clutch factor. Bryce Harper, I believe he'll turn it on in playoffs. Kyle Schwarber, same with him. And then you just got other guys in that lineup like JT Realmuto, Trey Turner, that I do not see going ice cold. The Padres, Manny Machado is like the one guy I believe who can stay consistent in playoffs. And then after that, I mean, I just see streaky guys from past years, past performances. So I think that's going to be the problem here for the Padres, and I think those starting pitchers of the Phillies are going to continue their breakout year. They're going to break out in playoffs. They're going to be the playoff heroes. Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. So give me the Phillies winning this one 4-2, which means my World Series would be the Phillies and the Mariners. I think this would be a great World Series, especially from what they provided, what they've shown us on the field in 2025. They both have been teams that have been a lot of fun to watch, and this would be the Mariners' first appearance in a World Series. That's just absolutely insane to say. Both rotations have pitchers who have had breakout seasons. We've talked about it. I just mentioned Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez, Brian Wu going crazy, and they got other guys in that Mariners rotation who have proven themselves, who, if put in this scenario, can be a big game pitcher. I think these lineups are both stacked. I talked about that. They both got their stars like Kyle Schwarber and Cal Raleigh, just proving those big boys. Yeah, they can play too. And they got the supporting bats, J-Rod, Randy Arozarena, Eugenio Suarez. You go to the Phillies, you got Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto. These teams are very similar, and I think it's going to be a battle. I think it'll go 7 games. It's going to be one for the ages, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, who wins? I like the lineup of the Phillies better. I just do. I like the experience. I like the chemistry these guys have. The Mariners literally have never been to a World Series. This Phillies team, most of these guys played in a World Series together. So yeah, I'm giving it to Philadelphia. I think they win 4-2. Do it in 6 games. So yes, I had the Phillies beating the Mariners in the 2025 World Series. Leave a comment down below who you think the World Series matchup is going to be and who's going to win. I already know there's going to be comments yelling at me, disagreeing with me. Trust me, it happens every single time I do one of these predictions videos. You're probably one of them right now watching this video, leaving a comment saying, "What? You're insane. How could you say that?" Yeah, we all have our own opinion. That's what makes us our own person. Isn't it beautiful? What you just heard is my prediction. This is who I'm going to support in October. For the American League, give me the Blue Jays. They battled and they had attitude all season long, especially at the end. So I'd love to see the Blue Jays make a run. And on the National League side, it's the Padres. They're literally the National League team that I root for regularly. So yeah, I'm gonna be supporting them throughout October. With that, thank you for watching. I got this, you got this, we all got this, and I will see you next time. Peace.